And that means we are live here on our YouTube channel, Tackle Trading's Halftime Report. We've got Coach Emily, Coach Noah, Cody, and myself. Tim is here as well. Full crowd for today's market analysis. Welcome to our show. Let's get right down to business. Noah, if you can bring up your charts whenever you're ready. We're going to start with the S&P 500. Obviously, a lot going on here today. Powell testimony on the Hill, Trump impeachment hearings. You got some earnings numbers coming out, CPI data out of the economic indicators as well, and continued unrest in Hong Kong. The market still chugs along here. Noah, what are you seeing in the chart on the S&P? Any update for today?
Well, I watched the market tick down a little bit overnight, a little bit of selling pressure coming overnight, but from the cash open, it's been pretty much straight up. So not a huge day, pretty quiet. As far as the range it's been trading in, but right from the open, it's been, up, and it's giving us that hammer type candle with a long shadow. And I can see a little bit of a rising ascending triangle in there. If you're looking at it from this time frame, if you break it down into a smaller time frame, there's a potential for a breakout above 3,100.
Mm-hmm. What are you seeing similar in this type of range that we put in between the end of September and now compared to what, like we saw, let's say in August or even before that in June? Because we've had good runs this year on the S&P, Noah. I'm seeing pay range up, but I know the characteristics are slightly different here. What are you seeing different in the chart from those other ranges?
Well, pay range up, as far as breakout, the size of the move to the upside, we can certainly anticipate that, the sellers might look to take a profit at that. But the one thing I'm noticing that's slightly different is no deeper pullbacks. If you look back at some of the previous runs, you saw a little bit deeper drop back, a little bit more volatility as it hit the top. Here we're seeing, no major deep pullbacks and slightly less volatility out here under 3,100. So it's kind of pinching in with higher lows as I notice the candlestick lows getting higher. So I think that's got slightly more bullish lean to it. Mm-hmm. But other than that, 3,100 is still, I think, a psychological barrier. It hasn't broken, a big fat number. If it does retrace, if we do get a deeper retracement, I probably don't see it dipping much past 30.50 before the buyers step up and buy the dip. Again, watch that economic data. There's plenty of stuff in the news to drive the market one way or the other, but it seems to be marching to its own drum right now.
Not just the S&P, by the way, the NASDAQ and the Dow are all looking about the same. And in my opinion, the charts are very, very, very similar. In fact, Noah, if you give me a quick look at the Dow, break that one down, the NASDAQ as well, and see if you see relative strength or weakness in any of them.
Well, let's see. Dow, it's very similar. Same lower shadows on the candlesticks, not as far up from the base. And so it kind of looks like it might have even you might even count that as a retest. But right there near the highs, very, very similar pattern. Now let's look at the NASDAQ there. NASDAQ's got a nice pop, a little bit more of a rounding top look to it. It's kind of got the highs and the shadows are still showing some topping action. You still see the higher lows, but not that same really common high that it looks like it wants to break. But, similar shadow on the candle, similar hammer type setup today. Again, here 8,220 or so is that bottom of that moving average. There's a nice little support zone in there.
Sure.
Yep.
I mean, here it comes down to, obviously the markets are bullish, whether you rank them as a +1 or a +2. I think that's where there is some debate here, and we have different ways we think about ranking stocks and indexes and whatnot. Right now, I've got the NASDAQ as the strongest of those three, and then the S&P and the Dow just right there the same. And everything's kind of bullish. Am I adding delta to my accounts? If there's a good bullish trade on individual companies or sectors, sure, I'm willing to do that on a day like today. I know that we're range up, Noah, and I know it's a time for profit taking as well. But if you miss out on trends in the market, you miss out on some of the biggest moves there are. And there are ways you can hedge off that risk. I asked you this question yesterday. I'm going to ask it again. Are you adding bullish delta up here at the top?
Well, I have added a little bit on some individual stocks, but on the S&P itself, I'm wanting to see that breakout. And then again, I would do the same thing. I'd add on individual stocks.
Mm-hmm. Russell 2000, I'm going to bring in Coach Emily here as well. The Russell, whenever I think of the Russell, I think of my Condor system and the Condor traders who use that system. RTY is obviously neutral for the year. We've talked long and hard about this, why that is. there's some head scratching out there, even among professionals. Why are the small caps lagging? Here's what we know. This is good for condors. Now, Emily, I've been asking the coaches here for about a week on this halftime report. What are you going to do if it breaks out? Now, I've talked to you about this before, hedge or no hedge. Talk about the condors, talk about the rut, and how you handle it if that breakout did happen.
Well, we have been enjoying it being sideways neutral, so I'm kind of glad it's not, running up like the other ones have. But yeah, it's a great cash flow strategy. I have my alerts if it breaks out around 16.15, 16.20 around there. I really don't try to mess with the condor. I'll just exit the trade if it touches my strike prices. Some people like to hedge and either, add on calls or, play the IWM ETF. However you go about it, just make sure you have a plan on what to do when it does break out or if it does break out.
I mean, obviously, a breakout up here at the top, there are lots of different things you can do to hedge the delta, to adjust the delta, whatever that might be. To hedge or not to hedge, we actually did a few podcasts on this over the years, and we've talked about that. Some traders want to keep it simple, just keep a stop loss up there. Other traders are going to hedge. And Noah, where do you lean on that argument?
For me, to hedge or not to hedge comes down to time till expiration. If I've got less than a week, not to hedge. It's too hard to get a directional hedge that works in the amount of time you need. If I got more than a week, if I got 10 days plus, then I think a directional hedge, I'll use that in conjunction with rolling so that I can, widen the condor and take some of the pressure off of it. But there has to be time in order for a hedge to work.
Yeah.
So that for me is very rule based. And I try not to be as, emotionally based on it because, when you get into that part of the condor, it's a bit of a pressure cooker. I think, when people either take the right action and control the risk, or they don't, and they end up freezing like a deer in the headlights and let the trade go worse than it should.
Back on the S&P for a minute, if you will, and give me a weekly chart, big picture. I do want to talk about something. And halftime crew, welcome out. If you're watching our show, as always, it's great to have you. And a couple things I want you to do right now. Number one, make sure that you subscribe if you have not done so yet. Click the bell if you've not done so yet, so you know when we go live on the show each and every day. We do it 12:30 Eastern, usually about 1 or 2 minutes late, Cody, because we're sitting here talking about life or whatever it is. We always end up looking at the
late.
clock.
I don't think we're ever on. We might as well just say that it starts at 12:35 Eastern, and then we're early.
It's usually 12:30, 32 or 33 though. So I want a 12:32 timestamp.
Just because we want that exact number. We're traders. We like very
data,
specific numbers.
That's exactly right.
It's a range between 12:30 and 12:32.
It's like resistance. It's a zone. That's exactly right. Okay. And the other thing is, if you're our pro member, great to have you guys as well. And reminder, we have a mastermind group tonight on the Condor system. We were talking about condors there in a minute. I'll remind everybody at the end of the show as well. Coach Tyler does a monthly group meeting where he gets all the condor traders together, shows you how to build. I believe we're going to be looking at the January contract right now, is if I'm projecting out 2 months, and management on the December and the November and everything else that's going on. Do not miss that meeting if you're a cash flow condors trader, or if you want to be a condors trader. I mean, that's a really good neutral system. Back on this weekly here. We're going to talk politics for just a minute here. And just from a market perspective, there's an impeachment hearing going on the Hill, guys. I mean, this is historic.
Was that a trigger warning that you were just giving?
I'm just giving it. Okay.
You're like, hey guys, we're about to talk politics.
Read it however you want. I'm just bringing it up. What is the risk of the political landscape right now? If this impeachment goes through, does the market have risk in it? Noah, you're the veteran. I'm going to bring you in here first.
I don't think so, because I think if they do vote to impeach, it's not going to go through the Senate, and it'll all be for naught. It's kind of a waste of time, I think. The market's probably not going to care too much.
Cody?
I don't think the market cares. Mainly, twofold. One,
market doesn't like unknowns. So
one, I don't think anyone believes is going to be convicted in the Senate. So when you hear impeachment, just quick politics lesson. The way that impeachment is set up to remove a president from office is that a case is built within the House, and then that case being built, that criminal case, high crimes and misdemeanors, is then put together, it's voted on, saying yes, this is a case, and then it goes to the Senate to actually be prosecuted, like the Senate is acting as the court, and that's where they decide whether or not guilty, not guilty, removed from House, not removed from House. So
Mhm.
right now we keep hearing impeachment, and that word, a lot of citizens just think that it means like, oh, he's going to be removed. I don't think people think he's actually going to get removed from office, which is why I don't think it's going to affect the market too much.
Mhm.
And that's a couple different reasons. One, this entire thing's kind of just hoopla up in the air. No one really knows one way or the other what's exactly happening or happened. And secondly, we've been hearing the word impeachment since he was elected in 2016.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I mean, two big headlines. Obviously, you've got the impeachment stuff, then you got the Powell stuff on the Hill. Obviously, Powell to me is the bigger risk. If Powell said
yeah, I think
something that the
Powell's
market
testimony is more important today for
didn't
us.
like, I mean, the market is going to respond to Fed policy a lot quicker. The impeachment thing, I'm with you guys. I don't think the market knows how to digest this, and they don't really see this step as very critical, right? Whether he does get impeached right now or not, I mean, from a historical perspective, that will be of note. It's not that significant. He's not convicted yet. Cody, appreciate the political lesson there. That's exactly right. So I don't see it either, but obviously you got to be aware of it and you got to pay attention to it. We'll watch the price action. I mean, at the end of the day, Noah, one great thing about trading is the market will tell you what it thinks with its money, you know,
Yes, it
and,
does.
and if the market doesn't like it, you're going to see red candles. We don't see that yet.
Not yet. So
Not yet.
keep an eye on. I agree with you on that. I am a little bit more mindful of what Powell's saying. I think that's more important right now.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the dollar index. Let's talk about currencies and the Federal Reserve. Obviously, Powell is testifying on the Hill, and they're talking about the next year of what they're going to do with rate cuts and policy. And we basically moved into a dovish camp. And on that weekly chart, you can see that fading uptrend. Not much here from a daily chart or even a short-term perspective. Dollar kind of holds it steady here. Noah, any update on that chart you're seeing?
No, it still feels really neutral as in that uptrend concept. So you got the channel I have drawn there, but you can see it kind of ping ponging its way up slowly, and it's a kind of a slow grind to the upside when it does move. So I do think we're about mid range, and I do suspect it will grind higher, but it's going to be kind of a slow, steady grind. Again, something Powell says could change that. If they have a shift in the monetary policy, but as it stands, the dollar still has the best interest rates out there. And even though they've been lowering them, I think they're going to do the pause. From what I'm gathering, you're not going to see that many rate cuts. We'll see what they do if they stick according to their game plan. But I think for now it's just moderately bullish to neutral, but small bullish edge there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Crude oil, natural gas, gold, and all the commodity space. Let's run through those one at a time. Start with crude light. Obviously, oil inventories every Wednesday. Some weeks have a big impact, other weeks do not. They've moved into that yellow economic indicator category where they're just kind of a neutral report. I'm seeing neutrality here. Noah, break down that chart if you will.
Again, very, very neutral. Lots of support down below it. Lots of resistance out above it. It's been slowly making higher lows and higher highs. It's hanging out around that 200 period moving average, which when you get sideways, moving averages don't mean as much when you're in that sideways consolidation, but they still do can be considered price thresholds. I am seeing some bottoms of those candles that may lead me to believe we might see a small breakout. But I still don't really look at it as a strong directional move. I don't normally expect oil prices to run till spring. Seasonally, they tend not to do much this time of year. And again, it's relatively neutral in the context. When you look at it on that weekly chart, it's just a big old consolidation triangle.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure which way, if it breaks, which way it's headed. I suspect we'll see higher prices, but again, there's been plenty of production and inventory, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it keep prices suppressed as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Natural gas is next. And I saw the CPI report come out, and CPI, core price inflation. Obviously, inflation is something that's natural in an economy. That's what the Fed wants. And they had an increase in the CPI that they were blaming on natural gas prices, oil prices. And I'm thinking, yeah, they ticked up a little bit, but we were always going to have some inflation built in. I was talking to Matt on the phone before he got on a plane here today as well, and we were talking about natural gas. We spent a lot of the conversation about nat gas, and it came down to a basic question: when do you buy? Right? Because I love this pullback on natural gas. The red candle, red candle, red candle relationship, about 6 of them in a row here, Noah, has brought it back into old moving averages. You have a new pivot relationship in the highs. Now, the trend line doesn't project out till about 240. And this is a conundrum that traders have been having for 150 years since the dawn of time. Something you want to buy, that starts to come back down, when do you actually pull the trigger? Let's get Emily's take, Noah's take, and Cody's take here on natural gas. Are you guys a buyer at some point? And if so, what are you looking for? Emily, you first.
I'm going to wait for it to start snowing. Then I'll buy.
Well, all right. We had snow in Utah, I think, a couple of weeks ago.
Oh no. I think it's sitting right at those moving averages. So I mean, if somebody was to pull the trigger here, okay, maybe a little bit of another pullback at that other moving average over there, and then I'd buy. It's hard to tell. Maybe wait for a green candle in the next coming days. It's at that range where if you did, I wouldn't have a problem with it. If you waited, I also don't have a problem with it.
Cody?
I sold credit spreads yesterday.
You already did. So a theta trade with cushion doesn't always, for some systems, Noah, even for really, really good traders, veteran traders, doesn't require the same kind of price confirmation as, say, a directional trade. If you're going to go long call or play the futures or play it directionally through the ETF, you've got to get price confirmation in a different way. But are you okay with Cody's bull put spread entry here on a red candle?
I like I mean, he's probably not super thrilled with it at the moment. He may be down just a little bit.
Just slightly.
Yeah, just a little bit. But if you've got the right cushion on it, I think there's a lot of technicals below it. And I was looking at that from yesterday's perspective, and I like yesterday's candle more than today's. But I do believe with the rising moving averages, the 200, the 50, and then the old support resistance zone down there near 250, I think that if as long as your credit spreads are down below that, which they should be, right?
Yes, they are.
Then I think you're probably just fine. Yep.
Well, no, I was just going to say, what about an idea of legging in? Let's say that that you have the capital in a trading portfolio for, say, 10 contracts in the futures market, or 20, or whatever it is, 5, whatever the number is. And on a given day like today, maybe you start with 1, start the position, then if you get another doji, you add another one, and you build into that core position over time. No, I know you do a lot of adjusting, legging in, legging out, turning different trades into different things. Legging in concept here, would it make sense on this pullback?
I think so, especially on this type of a dip where if you're trying to take advantage of the premiums and sell them. You want to add to the position. You want to build into a maximum position and start small. I like that. One of my favorite parts of trading is, hey, it doesn't hurt to throw on that first contract. If you keep your cost base and risk expense low, if it starts to shore up and give you better signals, then you add to it. But if not, you don't add to it.
I am focused on this pullback, and I can just say for myself, I've not pulled the trigger yet, Cody. I put in a price order for a good fill. And sometimes when I know I'm kind of leaning on the fence, Noah, I know I want a bull put spread. And let's say the bid and the ask is going to give me a little range there. I might stick an offer in on the credit spread that if I get filled, I'm only getting in on a good fill, even better than midpoint offer. That way I'm comfortable with the fill price and I'm playing off the volatility. That's how I'm approaching it today. Hopefully I can get some good fills here in the next little bit. I don't know where the bottom is on this pullback, by the way. It could be 250. It could even be 240. And natural gas has tons of volatility. And Emily, waiting for the snow, driving into Utah yesterday, I saw people playing golf. Okay.
Oh my, really?
So it's 60 degrees here, so who knows when that cold weather's coming. Going to be an interesting one. Seasonally on natural gas, we'll keep breaking that down one at a time. Appreciate everybody's input on that. Gold bounced today for the first time in a while. In fact, I had 4 candles down in a row. It's been down for a couple weeks in a row since the beginning of November, Noah. Is this anything to get excited about or just kind of a bounce off the bottom?
I'd like to see another bounce on this. So whenever I see a sharp sell-off and a small rally, I'd like to see another bottom, a double bottom, perhaps a higher low, to really give me more bullish confidence. Because as of right now, this is really probably more than anything just profit taking from anybody who speculated to the downside. Just a little bit of upward move. The volume's not that impressive. So I prefer a double bottom on that.
I am with you. And obviously one last one I like to peek at is Bitcoin. And no, I want to get your read on this chart. I talk to Matt about Bitcoin all the time. Everybody knows that Matt is not a fan, and I still am kind of on the fence. I don't trade Bitcoin. I just kind of hold a small core position. What are you seeing here? Because I see a gap fill after some strength earlier or later in October, and maybe some opportunity for a move here. Am I seeing that with rose-colored glasses, or what are you seeing?
Maybe some rose-colored glasses, but it's, I see the gap you're talking about. There's some key technical levels. You got, inside consolidation. You've got rising and falling moving averages, small candles on the inside. This is, for me, is a bi-directional setup. I don't know which way it goes, but I think that consolidation into the middle of that range there, near that, what do we call it, 8,900 level. That's a big price zone for it. And I can see it break into the upside, and that would encourage buyers, and it probably follows through and you see an upward move. But if you see the selling pressure kick in, I think it's a short trip back down to 8,000.
Some of the market leaders here today. I want to go through some individual companies. We're going to be talking to Coach Emily here in a few minutes as well. Disney, by the way, we talked about them yesterday. They had that announcement of their Disney Plus streaming service. Emily, did you get it yet? I'm sure your kids want Disney Plus, right?
Of course they want it. They are big Marvel fans, and of course all the Disney movies. Yeah, we'll be getting it.
Well received, Noah. Gap out, and then momentum. Another confirmation point here today. That's a beautiful chart. If you're a day trader, I'm not sure if you can play that outside of that. What's your read on that chart, Noah?
Well, this is one I happened to get called out on, and bought it right back up because I figured it would have a pretty good response to this. Strong upward candle move, a nice uptick on volume. So you're coming out of, again, earnings. And again, they were pretty good on their earnings. Actual report, they did pretty good. I think the streaming's going to be hot, and that candle certainly showing the strength on that. So the uptick in volume, the buy candle, overhead resistance. You might be a little late chasing it for entry at the moment, depending on what your techniques you're using. But I think it's going to test that 144 zone, and if it breaks above it, there's another buy opportunity there.
Yeah, it would violate my rules for reward to risk on a swing trade setup. I don't think I would take it here personally. That's just my own perspective. I've got my rules and I don't break them. When I'm delta trading, that's you got to be rule based, guys. In fact, in the chat right now, just type in "I will follow my rules." Every trader out there, if you're a new trader, you have to design a system that fits you. That being said, there's a couple of different ways I would consider looking at Disney here. Number one, if it broke the 147. You have a momentum opportunity here. It would be a complex one, but I still think there's upside. In fact, I think Disney for 6 months in a row has been in a consolidation phase, Noah, trying to wait for this event. And now the market has it. It wouldn't surprise me for this thing to go into a trend. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Now, price action as a trend develops can get complex, but this has to be at the minimum on a bullish watch list. Would you agree with that, Noah?
Yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, from a fundamental perspective, when you're looking at stocks just as a general class and people are worried about bubbles, Disney's one I wouldn't have as much fear about because it's Disney. They pay a nice little dividend. It's not huge. They pay a dividend. And again, it's got lots of diversity in their streams of income. So diverse streams of income. And boy, I don't know how many companies they own, but I've seen those infographics and they've got a bunch. And I think the streaming is just one more steady stream of income for them.
And we're starting with some of the bigger movers, not just by percentage, but also by size of the company as well. Disney on top of leadership here today. AMD has been a juggernaut. I got to tell you, you take your pick on these chip makers, but AMD would not be a bad pick this year. Holy cow. And continued momentum, continued breaking out. What a wonderful cash flow company. I love the volatility on this company. Emily, I love naked puts on AMD over time. Now, up here at the very tippy top, I don't know if a new naked put's a good play. Emily, do you trade AMD?
I don't trade it as much as our friend Sylvia does. Sylvia talks about AMD literally every time I get a chance to see her, and she's doing wonderful things with her grandson to come out, let her tell her own story. But yeah, she loves AMD a lot, and I know she's having a good day today with that because she does a lot of naked puts in AMD.
There's no doubt. Noah, that is a high base breakout to the upside. You're already up 2.8%. Can you chase here?
As a momentum trade, I think the upside's open enough that you can, if you're using trailing stops. That would be my caveat there is you've got to use a trail stop on that and probably trail candlestick, use the ATR as a measuring stick.
Cody, do you trade AMD? This one's on the Tackle 25, dirty, sexy money type list.
I think I've traded AMD since I started trading.
Well,
it's always had that volatility, and I've boomeranged AMD quite a bit. Right now, I've just been doing naked puts because I haven't got a good entry. I haven't been able to get. I had my shares taken away from me, and I haven't been able to get them back.
You know, there's a simple thing in trading about liquidity. And I can tell you, guys, we're not the only ones who trade AMD. They have 50 million shares traded today. Their option chains have penny options all across the board. It's a wonderful product in that regard. Bullish currently, definitely very, very strong. There's a lot of the stocks that I pick, Noah, just based on the fact that other people trade them, you know, and that liquidity and that action and that volatility, it all goes together into these opportunities in trading. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, I think liquidity is one of the primary things I'm always looking for is, are other people trading it? Do I get the bid ask spreads I want? Do they have all the option choices? This is a good example of what to look for.
Yeah, you got to dance where the music is, guys. And AMD has had a dance party going on for a very, very long time. You know who's partying this year is Roku. Give me ROKU, if you will. More leadership out of this company at the top. Third stock by price and volume today. Disney, AMD, and then Roku. By the way, it has more price and volume traded today than Apple Computer. I don't see a trade here, by the way. I have my suspicions that this one is being run by the computers. I know a lot of volume run by computers on these high flyers, but Noah, it makes me wonder if this has become that, you know, very popular type company that pops up every now and then that eventually just kind of goes away. I'm not sure. I'm skeptical about this stock, but in the short term, and I mean like all year long, it has been a popular company by Wall Street traders to pay attention to. Give me a read on that chart because it's a mess.
Well, technically, I would agree with you, Tim. It is a bit of a mess. So you got gaps to the upside, you got gaps to the downside, you've got it trading in the middle between support and resistance with a confluence of moving averages. And after the gap down, filling that gap, that creates a support resistance zone in there that might be something it has to deal with, that 138, 139 zip code. So if it can clear that zone, I'd feel more comfortable with the bullish signals on that. But just because it's backfilling a gap, I don't necessarily think that launches off the new trend. It's got to clear that 140 ballpark and start really, if you really want to have a strong bullish signal, it's got to get out about 151, 152.
I could also see that forming a right shoulder right there.
Yeah,
Exactly.
a little bit of a head and shoulder going on too. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about with backfill on the gap. I mean, the gap itself creates its own little backfill. If that resistance holds, that's a right shoulder. And when the neckline, if you've got the right side lower than the left side on a head and shoulders, that's a more bearish signal.
Mm-hmm.
So, the fact that the right side of the neckline is down here at 115, the left side of the neckline is up at 126. Again, coming with the gap on earnings on high volume, that leads me. That's one of the reasons I don't like it bullish yet, is because of the size of that dip right there. And the fact that it's just filling that gap, and I can picture head and shoulders. So, clears that zone out, I'll feel more comfortable with the bullish signals.
A headline out of Powell testimony, by the way, real quick. We'll get into more companies and charts here in just a minute. He says that interest rates unlikely to change as long as growth continues. Well, Powell, we have one of the strongest economies ever measured. You've been dropping them this year. So why would we believe that?
Why don't we have negative rates like our competitors? We could destroy them.
You get paid. They're getting paid to borrow money.
Do you think interest rates are going to be the 1.5% they are today in a year, Noah?
I think they're going to go lower. I think
do too.
They're going to have to, because that's the path they've laid out for themselves. And I think ultimately the negative rate shenanigans there'll be a cost associated with that.
I'm with you guys. I'm with you. A couple of stocks on the downside that are grabbing my attention today. We've had a few bulls, now a few bears. Amazon, number one here, and it's only down 1%. But when I see relative weakness in other tech, and then I see Amazon just kind of dragging behind, Alibaba, and we'll get to Baba here in a minute. These big online retail shops, they're not doing great right now. And you want to talk about a complex chart. Neutral, if you're an Amazon holder, I'm sure is the hope that you have, is that you're reading neutral. If you're an Amazon, kind of bear here, Noah, you might even be seeing some opportunity down here. Now, a break below support, significant, obviously. But why is Amazon not participating in the market rally this year? We've had 11 months of strength, guys, pretty much.
It's not participating yet, but I would have a hard time wanting to short this or pick a fight with it, just seasonally speaking. It's got a messy consolidation pattern. I see your bearish signals, but I don't know that I want to do that. It's still Amazon. It's just not a fight I want to pick. That being said, it'll be interesting. This is, I think, is going to be a strong thing to watch. I think heading into your what do you call it? Cyber Monday, Black Friday.
Sure, they're going to be, I'm sure, drumming up billions in sales, and it'll be all over the headlines. And how the market reacts to it, we'll wait and see. What about, just thinking here, something bi-directional? Look at that chart. I don't expect it to stay at 1760 for the next 2 months. Okay.
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, what's their implied volatility? It's low implied volatility. So if ever there was a chance to try to do something bi-directional, you'd only want to do that if you had low volatility at the time. So yeah, I could see that. That's something bi-directional with low volatility, and then maybe sell some wings to offset the time decay.
Inverted butterfly debit condor type deal. I think worth pricing for sure. Cody, do you trade debitcons? Flies?
Every once in a while. So
Yeah.
they're not my key strategy, but I have traded them before. I actually kind of like the butterfly.
Inverted butterfly.
Well, no, I'll take a delta butterfly.
Mhm.
But I've done the debicon whenever I want more of a range. So if I believe that I see a price movement that a target is really easy, then I'll typically do a butterfly on it. But if I think it's going to be more in a range and I think it might remain within that range, then I can do a debicon that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't do volatility trading till about the last hour of the day every day. When I'm home, I have a very specific routine. After the halftime report, I'm going to walk my dogs. When I get back from that, I'm going to have lunch, and then I'm going to sit down and kind of finish out my day by hedging. And I put on my Vega trades. This is going to be on my watch list. I don't know if I'm going to pull the trigger. I got to make the numbers work, but I'm interested there, especially with that low IV number here, Noah. I think it's worth pricing at a minimum. There's no question about that. And then Alibaba, real quick. Two companies. I mean, in fact, Baba is often referenced, Emily, as the Chinese version of Amazon, right? That Chinese market version of Amazon, online retail. Baba had a huge sales number the other day with their One's Day. Is that what they called it, Cody? I'm probably doing terrible for their marketing. The one day or whatever it is.
Singles Day, I thought it was
40 billion in sales, USD. Okay. Now, the market liked it initially, but then you've got more Hong Kong unrest and protest. I like this setup here, Noah. Old resistance, new support in a developing uptrend. I think as a technician, you could maybe even see the fact that you might be pay range up, and there's some risk there too. But Emily, Amazon or Baba here as a pullback stock, are you interested in this one?
I think I'm more interested in this one than I am Amazon, just looking at the chart. Yeah, for sure. I would probably get into this and aim for that 195, 195, 200 range if I was going to get into that. Yeah, for sure.
Noah?
I like it.
I like this 180 zone. I like the breakout, the pullback. It's a solid price level. Watch for buy signals. Buy signals and confirmation. That's what I'd want to see.
Yeah. Guys, there's a trade in the market every day. You can find one. You can make a good trade every day. It doesn't mean they net profits every time. That's not markets. Probability, risk, reward, all those other things have to fit into your trading system. But even on a day where the market is neutral, guys, I'm finding tons of setups today. There's no question about it. And if you're ever looking for good setups, just the reports. I mean, you can always go and stick and kick into those reports and take a peek at what's going on. Other things you guys are paying attention to. Emily, what's on your mind now? Wednesday, middle of the week, looking at the market, kind of hanging out, a lot of news. What are you focused on right now?
Just focused on just doing some cash flow type strategies. I'm excited for the Iron Condors, cash flow condors tonight. So I'll be looking to get into that for building for the January condor. Other than that, I'm just really just chilling out, waiting for this breakout. If the S&P does break out, I think I'll probably start to get into some more directional trades. But I'm kind of laid back and just cash flowing. I really have nothing exciting. Trading has become boring for me nowadays. It's
Making money is exciting though, right?
It is exciting. Yeah,
I don't know
that is exciting.
No, stay bored, Emily. Stay bored.
That's right.
Because if you're bored and you're getting consistent returns, then that's a good thing. Stay bored.
Yeah, I hate being home because when I'm home is when I start to do other things. I start to try new tricks, and then I end up figuring out I should just stick to my basics. So, it's a good thing and a bad thing to be home, because this is when I seem to get myself in trouble doing
itchy trader
crazy
finger.
things.
You
The
get itchy trader finger.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's when you open that paper account and you start back testing things, because then you can get that.
And you
itchy
know what?
finger.
And I did. I opened up my paper trade account, and I was day trading futures. I was doing the minis, the micros, the MES, and I put a trade on. I forgot all about it, and it was up 17 grand. And I'm like, well, why come I didn't do that in my real account? You know, it's
Oh, that's funny.
Ah.
Yeah, those things. I mean, we do have a tendency to overtrade if you're just bored, you know. And
Yeah.
I think sometimes, Noah, even market and professional money managers, I've heard this from some of the pros, big hedge fund managers, where they're like, listen, some of the worst mistakes I make is when the markets are boring and I get bored myself and overtrade, you know,
Yeah, but see,
overthink it.
it's a tricky thing, because if you stay home and practice trade or start getting yourself into trouble, the other option is to go out and shop and spend money. So it's I don't win here either way.
I saw a good little idea on that concept. Like, what if you only took like 12 trades a year? Would this be one of those trades? Like, run it through that litmus test of, you know, filtering out just your best ideas, because it's easy to come up with ideas, you know, because there's always something to trade somewhere, right? But is it your best idea? Are these your best ideas? If you only had 10 trades in a year, would this be one of them? Because otherwise, I think it's so easy to pull the trigger on trades just out of boredom, out of wanting to be productive when the markets may or may not yield that. So that's where you want to have, like, you know, do your fundamentals align? Do the technicals align? Does the sector align? Use as many filters as you can to avoid the itchy trader finger.
Yeah, I'm with you. A couple of stocks I want to look at. Then I want to talk about the Women in Trading event and properly promote it. It's going to be a fun one this Friday night, Emily, and we're going to make sure everybody knows how to attend it and what to expect. And no boys allowed this time as well, or can I sneak in?
We've had this discussion many
All right,
times.
all
No
right.
boys allowed.
Couple of companies that are exceeding volume today and really flashing, in my perspective. Goose, GOOS, a very popular apparel company, down 12% here on their earnings. Noah, that's a pretty ugly chart.
That is a pretty ugly chart. Lot of downward energy on that earnings, big volume. You might have missed it if you're just catching it now because it's coming into a support zone, but watch that for a support zone test, and maybe you got a re-entry if it breaks.
Sure.
There's a duck hunting joke in here somewhere.
There's gotta be.
This goat got taken down by accident. I don't know.
It's flying south for the winter. There you go.
There you go.
Couple of the pot stocks grabbing my eye here: CGC and ACB, both sitting on low bases. And this industry has just been obviously bearish for a while. Then ACB, real quick, same kind of pattern. They both have earnings coming up on us here. But then Tilray, look at Tilray.
Oh, look at that low base.
Yeah, Tilray had a very strong, negative earnings and low base that broke down, or not hasn't broken down, but there you go.
It would not surprise me to see this thing take another leg down. Now confirmation on any of those charts through the week. A lot of the same companies in that industry have earnings throughout this week. ACB, a very important company, as well as CGC. So we'll wait and see. But the medical marijuana stocks have been in a bearish trend this entire year. There's no question about it. Do you guys think that's going to turn around at any point soon? Do you think this is just kind of a bubble bursting from all that euphoria? Because these were hot stocks, Noah, for a year and a half.
Oh yeah, no, I think that I think long term they're going to be fine, but short term I think they just got beat up, and it'll be a question of which companies survive. I think it's going to shake them out. Reminds me a little bit of .com euphoria, where everything shot straight up and then everything came crashing down, and all this, all the companies that were worth a darn stuck around. Mm-hmm. The rest of them went out of business.
Yeah. And then one more chart for me is Walmart, because tomorrow morning, the biggest brick and mortar retail store in the world has their earnings report. Walmart's sitting up at a high point. It's been on my watch list. I've been trading it for a couple of years now, on the bullish side mostly. I love the company, and I have not always said that. In fact, Emily, you remember in different ballrooms in my career as a speaker, I would rail against Walmart. Yeah, but I like what the CEO has done. I'm open-minded. I'm open-minded. GE still terrible. That's why I'm still standing on that. But earnings expectations on Walmart, we'll see how it comes out. We'll shake this one down, Cody, tomorrow. Make sure that we have this one in our analysis.
Will do.
Because this one's huge. I mean, brick and mortar shops, Noah, have been real strong this year. Walmart up at a high point. What's your read here?
Pattern is about as pretty as it gets. clean entry, bullish sentiment, earnings. I don't know if you want to pull the trigger right before earnings, but
I
I
would not.
certainly do not have a problem playing this if it breaks to the upside.
If you
More
have
so-
covered call coming into this, because that's a pretty popular play on Walmart, they're a dividend payer, good company. I could see a lot of investors saying, hey, I'm going to buy some shares for my retirement account. Would you collar that? Do you think there's risk here to collar the downside, or do you let that just kind of ride?
That's a good question. The implied volatility is not outrageously high. Yeah, you could collar it.
I might color it out of the money and it'd be a little cheap.
Yeah, but if you're holding this long term, this is probably the thing you leave uncollared and just let it ride.
I agree, brother. Emily, there's nothing else we need to talk about but you, my dear. There's no doubt about it. Emily, you are one of the best coaches we have at Tackle Trading. You provide a lot of value. You meet students on the road. You've been on the podcast. Everybody knows you. Everybody loves you. And you actually run and you lead a group called the Women in Trading. Now, we're back with a live event. We haven't had one in a few months. And so this is kind of a big deal for me and for you and for our Tackle Trading team out there. This is this Friday. Okay. Set that up, set the expectations. How do people attend it? Who can attend it? And who cannot, I guess. Give us the old pitch right there.
Oh boy. All right. So Women in Trading. I have been on a little bit of a hiatus. I was on vacation and had a couple other things going on, and timing was, it just wasn't working out. But I am going to hold one this Friday for all my ladies out there. So all you tackle ladies, you know who you are. We're going to have another Women in Trading webinar on Friday at 8:30. And this is just for us girls. So we're going to have, popcorn and wine and talk about, trades, talk about
So,
life. And
do popcorn and wine go together? Is that like
yes,
a
they
really good
do.
combo?
And chocolate, anything. Yes, we mix
Right.
and match everything. But yeah, we're going to
Popcorn and wine, that would give that like sweet, salty mix.
Yeah.
If you have the right wine, you got that
Or,
sweet saltiness in there.
or margaritas or whatever, whatever your drink of choice is. It doesn't have to be wine. It could be whatever your drink of choice is. But
Emily, real quick.
So tequila shots later in the seminar? All right, good.
Is this
Yeah.
the definition of mansplaining when we interrupt you and tell you what popcorn and wine is?
I was
And this
honest
is-
curiosity.
And this is specifically why you guys are not invited to Women in Trading.
Huh.
I got you.
If you ever wondered why you're not allowed to join, is because you're showing your true colors right now. But no, so we're definitely going to bring the girls up and talk about trade and talk about things that get in the way. Like, a really good example is myself and having these webinars, because I promised the girls that I would do this every month, but life got in the way, and trading life gets in the way and we don't trade. So it's really just a way to hold us all accountable and make sure that we're clicking those buttons and just having fun doing it. So
Yeah.
I invite all the ladies to come out on Friday night at 8:30. Cody, I think you have a link for me.
I did.
Yeah,
I
we dropped it
down
in the chat.
Yep.
Oh, you're so wonderful. Thank you. Now see, Cody can come to the Women in Trading because
Yes.
he helps me on the behind the scenes. The rest of you guys, you have not earned it yet.
Mhm.
You
Oh,
underestimate my cross-dressing abilities.
no, I don't. All right. Well, I'm excited for it, by the way. And now what I always do, my friend, is I always just wait for the replay and then I just watch whatever you guys did. I peek in and kind of sneak in on you that way.
Yeah.
Because then I can watch the replay and not have to interrupt what you girls talk about. I love the events. You guys do amazing. I love the way that you provide value to the other women out there who are building a trading business and learning the business and all that kind of stuff. Emily, you keep on being you and have an amazing time this Friday night. And if you are interested in that event here, guys, there's a couple of things I want you to do right now. I want you to think about a woman in your life, if you're a man, that you could invite to the event, right? And, think about how you could probably drop the link in their email or send it to them. That's number one. If you're a woman in our community, just click the link, make sure you register, and that way you'll get an email reminder for it. Subscribe to our channels. As always, we're going to be here every day, and we'll continue to promote it tomorrow and Friday the same way. But there's a link right up above you, tackletrading.com/store. And then there's a longer version of it, says Women in Trading. Couple of real quick stocks here, Noah. I cannot help myself. Did you see Costco today?
I did earlier this morning. I like it.
Man, I'll tell you, guys, this was on the option report for pro members, and just pull back, pivot, trigger, confirmation, beautiful. I loved that one. What a good setup. Make some money on that one, obviously, here today. Good entry, not a closed trade by any stretch, but what a wonderful chart setup. And then CLAC. I don't know which one I like better. KLAC.
Oh, I like Costco, but this is pretty too.
Purdy. Make some money with those reports each and every week, guys. That's one of the biggest values in the pro membership. And by the way, Emily, this event on Friday is not just for pro members, is it?
No, it's not. It's open to anybody who's listening or watching.
Whether you're a pro member or not, if you want to attend it, just register. Cody, if you'll drop that link so it's the last thing in the comments, I'd appreciate it. And great job here today, guys. Cody, awesome work. Noah, as always. Emily, you're a rock star. Team Tackle, we will see you back here tomorrow. That's it. We're out.